Where were you born exactly?
Campbell River Hospital.
Campbell River Hospital.
My mother waited 3 weeks for me. There was going to be, I was due the end of March, and there's always a bad storm in March. My father always studied the weather. So arranged for her to stay with somebody in Campbell River. And of course I wasn't born till April the 3rd, so I told them I was supposed to be an April Fool, but I fooled them.
What were winters like in your house?
Well, I think winters were colder when I was a child because we had quite a bit of snow. And I know that one day my father broke up an old barrel down, and you know that they're curved, and made skis for us to walk to school. We had to walk a mile to school. And that's my best memory of winters. I went to a Harriet-based school, which was a mile, so we walked. And I think there were 17 students at the maximum. The big problem was that when the boys got to be teenagers, 14, so 15, they all went to work on the fish boats or the logging camps. And so sometimes there wasn't anybody in grade 8, unless there was a couple of girls that would. And but we loved school. We had fun, and we had a flagpole. We went out and hung the flag up every morning. And they don't do that in school anymore. Flags just wear out up there. Because we had a farm in the Depression, there were so many people that were out of work, and they're working. I think that I forget what they paid them, $1 a day or something to work on the roads, and that they'd go and so that you got a little bit of money so they could buy. Of course, groceries were cheap in those days, and but we didn't suffer at all. We grew everything. All we had to do was buy flour and salt, you know, basics. And as I say, we traded vegetables for fish. And we had our own meat. We didn't know it was a depression. Not as children. We were kids. We were having fun. And yeah, we were so lucky. I found it hard going to a big city when the war came, when we moved to Vancouver. You know, you take once in a while I'd take the streetcar downtown, come home with a splitting headache. You know, it was just so foreign to me. Anyway, time to come in for lunch. We'd be just roaming around in the hills having fun. Yeah, my dad had 200 acres. And that's why he raised sheep, because it was very rocky. It wasn't pasture land exactly. But he did very well selling his sheep. And we'd go out. I remember one year a friend of mine, we found some old trees that had been cut down, and we cut big slabs of bark. And we built a house with these big slabs of bark, just leaning them up against a tree that hadn't fallen all the way down. That was our house. Silly things like that when you're a kid. It's wonderful to grow up in the country. It's just so free. My father had his own electric light plant. He'd started out with a water wheel. He bought a water wheel. We had this creek, and he used to make his electricity with the water wheel. Then an American came along and offered him $1 million for his trees, so he let him log the place. And then the water went down. The water table dropped. And there wasn't enough, so then he had to buy a Delco plant to keep because the house was already wired. But sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, so we always had lamps. See, I always keep a lamp handy. Old habit. And but we did have lights most of the time, and we had indoor plumbing. Our house was built on a slope, so the water came in naturally, and so we were very civilized. I guess you people don't know much about Biffy's, do you? Everybody has indoor plumbing now.
Is it heated out there, Joy?
You got to be kidding! The only thing they did was to build the hops over them so they take the smell away. And we had Eaton's catalog, which is nice and shiny, for wiping yourself. Toilet paper hadn't been invented as far as we were concerned. I graduated from UBC in agriculture, and I got this really nice job at the experimental farm. But I thought I was always interested in gardening and getting out inside. But when I worked for the federal government, which is what the experimental farm was, women didn't do men's work. So I had to work in the lab and test tomatoes for molds and stuff like that. Married women were supposed to be busy raising kids. That's the days before the pill, you know. It's revolutionized the human world, hasn't it? Well, I know that the good Lord's in charge, so I'm not worrying much. But this old earth, you know, has been around a few times, and it may be just going to go around again. Whether the humans manage to stay on it or not, nobody knows. We'll just have to find out, eh? I don't spend any time worrying about it. If people would get out of the way and stop interfering, nature would do a much better job. Men make things so much more difficult. Life was so simple in my day. Very simple.